Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The Global Outlook is sponsored by Morey's newsletter, Global Outlook. To get a complimentary copy, log on to our website, theworldreport.org. The Czech Prime Minister says the recent wave of poor migrants from the Middle East and North Africa is an organized invasion. Meanwhile, Iraqi forces are taking back territory once held by ISIS. A little shocking, but inspiring as well. A German journalist who spent 10 days with ISIS says the only country they fear is Israel. Pretty gutsy for a journalist to go on a 10-day tour with ISIS, number one.
I would say so.
He had been infiltrated, he'd been talking back and forth with social media and basically wanted to cover the group. He was a little nervous about it. When he got in there...
He might have his head cut off.
Absolutely. I mean, they play for keeps over there.
I know.
But he actually said that the only country that they fear is Israel because they are guerrillas and they are savages and their tactics are exactly like ISIS.
You know what I love about it? I was ashamed to be a Jew, I'm going to admit it, until Israel was formed as a state, because, and it's a terrible thing to say, and I'm sorry that I said that, but I didn't want to be a victim. I said, the Jews always put themselves at the mercy of somebody who, oh, please help us. And they were murdered by the millions because of that. Well, Israel showed the fighting Jew, the nature of the Jew who could fight, and that's what the Israelis are today. They're as tough as anybody can be. They got the best parachute troopers, they got the best tankers, they got the best pilots.
Because their mere survival depends on it.
Yeah, but they also have the capability, too.
But it's also because they would not exist if they didn't fight.
Absolutely. In that part of the world, you can bet your life. That's true.
They're surrounded by people that want to kill them.
But I'll tell you one thing. To me, the greatest man in Jewish history is Judah Maccabee. When I was in college, I got a deferment for a year to finish my year in college before going in the Army. And they said, well, we need you to teach our students because you seem to know a lot about the military. Would you mind going to West Point for 6 weeks? This is mine. I consider that's the greatest thing that ever happened. So I walk into the Great Hall of West Point. Have you ever been there?
Yeah. What part of the year was it?
This was 1952.
No, I mean, what part? Was it winter or was it summer?
Summer.
Then you lucked out.
Yeah, I know. And I saw a bust of it looked like a Roman general. And I came closer and it said, Judah Maccabee, father of irregular warfare. He was the first commando. And the Jewish holiday Hanukkah, lighting up when they recaptured Jerusalem and the temple, this was based on the fact that Judah Maccabee, who never had more than 10,000 troops under his command, was able to defeat a Syrian Greek army of 150,000 with chariots and elephants and everything else going. Because he did was Jackson, Shoeless Joe, not Shoeless Joe Jackson, but the Jackson, the Confederate.
Oh, Andrew Jackson.
Andrew Jackson was the president. The Jackson who was the guerrilla fighter for the Confederates, who was the scariest guy in the Civil War. He always fought at the weakest point of the enemy, and they never knew when he was going to be hit. And that was Judah Maccabee's tactics.
ISIS is taking over Ramadi, which is a huge, huge victory for them.
I don't think so.
After they have been decimated over the past year and a half.
I think the very fact that you're so impressed means that the Iraqis are so bumblingly stupid and weak and they can't get themselves organized. So big deal. They finally, after American advisors got in there and worked with them, and I imagine actually took part in this operation, they took Ramadi, which is about 60 miles away from Baghdad. But the whole thing is fluid anyway. It doesn't mean anything. Mosul, which is the biggest city, the second largest city in all of Iraq, they're never going to get that. And in the meantime, ISIS is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and they're getting recruits from all over the world.
And there's now news that they're in Afghanistan.
Oh, absolutely.
Stretching the caliphate.
Oh, there's no question about it. That this is, part of it is the one thing that the Israelis are very lucky that they have the Arabs as their enemies. I mean, if you're going to fight anybody, fight an Arab army. That's the way to win.
Right. They haven't won a war in a very long time.
I don't know if they ever did. I mean, they fight among each other, but I'm not. This is not a racial statement, which might seem like it. They have, by nature, are not a military organized group.
Don't have the wisest amongst them.
Well, they're always the lower classes are treated like dogs, and they are utilized for anything, and then they're told to go. Can you imagine if Saudi Arabia had to go fight for its existence? How long do you think they would last? If Iran got in there and the Revolutionary Guard, which is like the German SS, if they got in, they'd wipe out the Saudis in 2 weeks.
And they're working on intercontinental ballistic missiles, which are not designed to hit Israel. They're designed to hit America.
Absolutely.
The great Satan.
Yes, and to me, the two greatest traitors are John Kerry and Barack Obama in signing off on that deal, which absolutely gave Iran the opportunity now to get rid of the sanctions which we were using to hold them down, $150 billion. And
sell
now,
their oil back on the market, which helps them.
Exactly. We've just given it to them carte blanche.
And when they do these missile tests, nothing happens from it. There's no reaction from the UN, from the Security Council, from America, from anybody.
No,
They're just able to do whatever they want to do.
The only country that the people of the weak left like to hate is Israel. They can't stand. Here's a country of heroes willing to defend itself and being civilized and building. You know, they have a drip irrigation thesis that they developed that Jerry Brown is sort of half-baked on it. He's looking into it. But you know, that country is as depleted of water as we are, if more so. They got no oil, they got nothing. They took this patch of land and they made a paradise out of it. They use ocean water, and they also use the water that has been used before, replenished water. So they're very smart.
And
people.
this also doesn't get reported very often. The majority of Muslims in Israel are happy there.
Oh, are you kidding?
They don't want to be in Jordan or Syria
are you kidding?
Or Iraq
Listen,
or Iran.
I happen to be there. I have friends who are Christians, and the propaganda against Israel as well. You know, they're allowing Christians to be murdered the way Jews were murdered in Nazi Germany. And I'm amazed. I got to say this. I'm amazed at the Pope. He's never come out and condemned these people for killing Christians.
Well, you know, our first segment was the winners and losers and the top stories and top people of 2015. The Pope was one of those people that I was hoping that we could have got into, and Angela Merkel, because I think those have been two of the biggest losers of 2015.
But here, you know, if this man, whether you believe it or not, happens to be the outstanding anointed leader of Christianity, although a Protestant won't agree with you, but the point is, in the Christian scheme of things, the Pope is considered the outstanding Christian leader. But
he comes from that South American mindset, that Venezuelan
liberation priest.
That entire region is he's the first pope in what, 1,200 years, or maybe even ever, come from Europe.
Yeah, ever.
So he has a completely different mindset, completely different background, and a different take on the world.
But the Christians are thrilled to be in Israel. Israel, they're all employed. This friend of ours, he worked closely with Yitzhak Rabin before he was assassinated, and he said this is a wonderful country, and Christians are treated with a tremendous amount of respect.
And so are the Muslims.
And the Muslims, you know, this so-called phony Palestinian state, this was made up by people like the Mufti of Jerusalem, who worked with the Nazis during the Second War, as is saying that Palestinians, you know what it stands for? It stands for Philistines. In fact, the Arab word for Palestine is Philistia, which means it's the land of the Philistines, who were the biggest fighters against the Hebrews in the old days.
We need to take a brief time out. Our Homeland Security, Political Insider, and The Moment in History are coming up. If you want to watch the show or catch any of our segments, it's simple, it's free. Just go to theworldreport.org. Remember to like us, recommend us, and leave comments and share with your family and friends. Our quote of the day, you're going to like this. I cannot live without champagne. In victory, I deserve it. In defeat, I need it. You know who said that?
No.
Churchill.